So first thing you want to do is review the Writing Project 1 guidelines again, just to make sure that you have the process right in your head before you go on starting to write it. Basically what you're going to do, in a nutshell, is you're going to have 3 sources, and you're going to write a 300-word summary, 300-word description of each article, each of the 3 articles. So that's 300 words per article for 3 articles. That's 900 words. That's where the 900 words comes in. So if you want kind of a more extensive breakdown, here it is right here. Extensive summary of each article, 100 words, in-depth assessment of the value of each source. So assessment, or maybe analysis. Some people call it analysis as well. That's another 100 words. And then an accurate reflection on how each source will be used in Writing Project 2. So whenever you actually start writing an essay, how are you going to use this source? You give me another 100 words on that. So 300 words per source. You have 3 sources. 300 per 3 sources. That's 900 words. So double check that. Make sure you have everything good to go there. Make sure you understand all of that stuff before you start working on the actual annotated bibliography. Once you review those, come back to the course content. Week 2 again. And check out the MLA tutorial number 2. There is no number 1 because number 1 was showing you how to write an essay in MLA, and I'll probably post that next week. But this one, we're just worried about the works cited page. So the MLA tutorial 2, basic citation format, and this one shows you how to cite a source for a book, but that's the basic format for all citations. So think of it like the book citation is the basic format for all others. There are some other things that are added if you do, say, a website or a journal or a video, but they're all kind of evolutions of the book citation. Once you check that video out, the MLA tutorial number 3 actually shows you how to format the page, and it shows you what it should look like. And then once you kind of get the citation down with video 2 and with video 3, figure out how to format everything. The online writing lab, the OWL at Purdue University, that is a website that I've provided here for you. You can come to this website and it shows you the basic format for a book. Like I said, that's kind of the base model. But if you're going to use, say, a journal entry or a magazine, you'll come over here on the left-hand side and look at all the ones that say works cited format, because those are going to show, or excuse me, works cited page, because they're going to give you different formats. This one is a basic format. That's books, basically, like a general book. If you actually go to the one that says works cited page books, it's going to give you several different avenues through which you might cite a different type of book. So for instance, here's the basic format again. Here's a book with one author. Here's a book with more than one author. Here's a book, 2 or more books by the same author, and so there's different categories of books that go beyond the basic format. If you do a journal article or a magazine or some kind of something that's released on a periodic basis throughout the year, then you want to click on periodicals. And I've already clicked on this one, so it's a magazine, newspaper, a review, an editorial. And if you're using an actual journal, it'll be an article in a scholarly journal. And we'll be using those a lot more often with Writing Project 2 and 3 and 4. So you may want to get acquainted with that now, but you don't have to just yet. If you are not using a periodical and you're using an electronic source, which I suspect most people will use, a web page and a website, you want to click on electronic sources. And you scroll down. I mean, you have the basics up here at the top, but what you're looking for is either an entire website. An entire website would be something like, let's see, bbcnews.com. That's the British Broadcasting Company News.com. So if you want to cite the entire website, then you could do that. But if you were going to cite that's for an entire website. So you would do all of that information. You would just follow this template here. But if you're going to do a page on a website, you would have to click one article. So for instance, if we want to do Millions in Path of Huge U.S. Blizzard, I haven't actually heard much about that yet, but this would be a page on the greater website. Okay, so when you come here, a page on a website, you would do the title of the page, which in this case would be U.S. Snowstorms, Millions in Path of Huge Blizzard, and then you would do the site name. In this case, they used WebMD. For you, it would be BBC News. The publisher. Now, sometimes the publisher is going to be different than the website. In this case, WebMD is the name of the company that publishes WebMD.com. Same thing with British Broadcasting Company. BBC News is the name of the site, but it's also the name of the publisher. You can check that by going down to the very bottom of the page, and whoever has the copyright symbol next to their name, that is the publisher. So here we see the copyright, BBC. So if you want to switch it up a little bit, for the page, you could say U.S. snowstorm, millions in path of huge blizzard. For the site, you could say BBC News, and then for the publisher, you could just say BBC, or the British Broadcasting Company, if you wanted to spell out the acronym. And then the date that it was published. Don't forget this little comma here after the publisher, comma, date published. So in this case, 20 minutes ago, so that's today's date. Then web or print, because if you found it on the web, it's going to be web. But if you have a physical book, then it's going to be a physical book, and you would put print. But this is online. This is a website, so you would just put web, and then the date you accessed it. So that's what I suspect most people will use. So that's just a real brief rundown. But if you get lost, just follow this template. Now, if that doesn't work for you, I've also uploaded 2 student samples that, let's see, I taught this class about a year ago, and the students in that class, I gave you some of their examples. Of course, I've taken off all the names, but I gave you some of the A students' papers. So this one, they used Scott Coltrane, and it was a scholarly article from the journal Family Relations. It was I don't want to know what kind of what kind of article it was. It's been too long now. But basically, what she did is she has a summary here, and then she assessed it, and then she reflected on how she was going to use it in the next writing project. And so you can follow her example if you would like. If you don't like hers, because she uses a scholarly article from a journal, she uses an article from a web magazine, Time web magazine, and then she also used an article from the Huffington Post. Now that is fine, but if you don't like her sources, maybe you're not using something similar, I've also provided a second sample from another student, and this student used something else. Let's see. She used a journal and another journal and she used a third journal. So she used all journals, and that's fine. That's kind of like the gold standard. She was really trying to go above and beyond. Obviously, that's why she got an A paper. But if you want, you don't have to use journal articles. If you do want to use journal articles, you can just use the library at CAC and look up scholarly journals. And if you have questions about that, I can certainly go over that as well. But if you don't want to do that, and you don't like these 2 samples, I've also provided a template to where you can literally just kind of type in your answer. It's made in a Word document, so if you need me to change the formatting, just let me know and I can do that to maybe an RTF or something else that maybe you can use. But for right now, it's in Word .docx for right now. So, as soon as it loads up, I will show you. One day soon, I hope. Boy, this is taking a long time. Let's try that again. Not too sure why this is taking forever. Okay, well I will just, oh there we go, there it is. Alright, so for the template, literally all you have to do is type in your stuff. So student name, you type in your name. Instructor name, you type in my name. Course name, you can type in the course name. Now also some people prefer, and this is fine as well, to type in, instead of the course name, type in the assignment name. So you could write annotated bibliography here if you prefer. The date, you would type in all that information. Don't forget up here the last name, type your last name here. Don't change the page number, because that page number is already set to work for all the page numbers. If you change the number, then it's going to screw up the page numbering. Let's see. So the works cited, the first one that I've done here is a scholarly article. You have plenty of examples with that on the student samples that I gave you. I didn't really give you too much of a template here. I told you what to write there. So that way, like I said, you can just kind of come in here and you can type in your author's last name, and then you can scroll over and type into the first name and then type in this title, and it shows you exactly how to do it. If you just go through and replace the words with your own, then it should be fine. Same thing with the summary, analysis, and reflection. Now, this analysis is also called the assessment. Those words are used interchangeably for this assignment, so don't get confused if you see analysis versus assessment. Reflection. Now, this one is a website. A web page. It would be like using that news article out of the Greater BBC website. So this is the title of a web page. Now, if you didn't use that, I've also provided the book. So I figured those will be the three most common, will be journal articles, books, and websites, web pages within websites. And so those are the three I've used here. If you decide that you want to use something else, just be sure to go back to the OWL at Purdue and make sure that you follow the correct formatting. But if you use one of my three, say you use all three websites, then what I would do is I would just take this and I would copy it, and then I would paste it over all the other ones. Where is my paste button? Oh. And so that way you can just kind of plug in the last name, first name, title of the web page, title of the website, and everything for each of your three entries. If you use three websites, if you use three journals, do the same thing. If you use three books, do the same thing. But this way it makes it a little easier for you. All you have to do is just plug in the information. Now, once you do that, once you've plugged in the information, let's go back to the course content here. You have finished your annotated bibliography, the rough draft. This isn't the final draft. This is just your first attempt at it. You fill out the template, or you've made your own, whatever. You need to come down to the annotated bibliography rough draft, click on that, and create a thread, and either type it into the message box, or preferably, would be better, is if you browse your computer and you upload it, because that way people can actually open the document and see how it's supposed to be. Because if you try and type it in here, or if you cut and paste, a lot of times it'll lose some of the formatting that is necessary for MLA. That'll work in Word, but if you cut and paste it into this text box here, it may not work especially well. So you have the choice, either one. Either paste it here or browse my computer and then upload the actual file, put a subject on it, and then submit it. Well, I'm not going to submit it on here, but once you submit, go back either that day if someone else has already submitted as well, or maybe a few days later, and I want you to reply to someone else's to their annotated bibliography. Find some suggestion that you can make to help them make it better. This is going to be really important whenever we start going into the essays, because your peers and their feedback will be the primary form of constructive criticism that you're going to get on the rough draft. I'll go through and I'll grade extensively the final drafts, but I want to see what you can do on your own with your peers, because ultimately you won't really have a writing professor looking over your shoulder in the future. So I'm trying to teach everyone to use their resources so they can write their own essays without having a writing professor over their shoulder. So again, in short, go to week 2, check out the guidelines, watch these 2 videos, go to Purdue University to find out what type of sources you're going to need, check out the annotated bibliography samples, and then use the template to write your annotated bibliography, kind of fill in all the information, and then post that on the rough draft. Once you've posted your rough draft, either that day or a little bit later, go back and respond to one peer and give them one piece of constructive criticism. I think this is good, but it could be better in XYZ ways. Or I think you did this well, but I think it could be done better. Or maybe I think you're missing this piece, or I didn't quite understand what you said here. Some kind of constructive criticism that'll help them make changes in the future when they revise their annotated bibliography for the final draft.